Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 legislative session. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter.
Present.
DeLong.
Present.
De Silva.
Here.
Edgeworth. Flanagan. Gallant. Goulding. Gurr. Hunt. Jackson. Karras. Kasama. Wynn. Chair Considine.
And I am present as well. So with everyone here, let's get started. Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and those listening over the internet. First, please check and silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name and affiliation for the record. Turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. If you are providing handouts, please ensure that hard copies are available for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to the committee manager by 9 a.m. yesterday for committee members. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. And I always encourage committee members to ask questions and engage with the material presented. If you have any follow-up questions, please flag them for me so we can ensure to balance our time effectively during the meetings. And committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not interpret this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And today we will hear two bills. First, we will hear Assembly Bill 152, which revises provisions relating to public records, followed by Assembly Bill 274, which requires the waiver of certain fees for certain businesses related to veterans. If you're ready, we'd now like to open the hearing on AB 152. To present this measure, we have Assembly Member Gray and a couple of other presenters that he will introduce. And please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Considine, members of the committee. For the record, I am Ken Gray, representing Assembly District 39 in Douglas and Lyon counties. I'm presenting AB 152 today, which revises provisions relating to public records. So a little background information. As most of you guys know, I was a county commissioner for quite a while for Lyon County. This actually really created some angst in me bringing this bill, because I believe in full transparency of our government. However, there are people out there, and for lack of better words, I'll call them vexatious records requesters that will do what they can to request records from any period of time, that with no intent. And some even go so far as to do that, to tie government up, and then never even bother to pick up the records. So the intent here isn't to shield what we're doing. It's to actually, shield us from the people that will tie our personnel up from doing the job they're supposed to be doing. This will actually increase transparency and increase the efficiency of government by allowing them to focus on the real records requests for citizens that truly need it, and not having them going chasing rabbits down holes that they may never catch. So some more background information. AB 52 is a very simple measure, and it's changed that I gotta get my glasses on, I'm getting old, sorry. Yeah, no kidding, longer arms. It's a very simple measure, and it's changed that it makes public records. Public record availability is important for government transparency and accountability. However, public records laws should also align with common sense limitations in order to help lessen the burdens placed upon our already taxed state and local and government workers. This change will help to prevent arduous public record searches for documents that are legally allowed to be disposed of. There is a schedule that is in it's actually in pamphlet form, but it's dictated by NRS, I've got it here, NRS 239 and NAC 239. The actual schedule, if any of you guys care to go read it, which I've been spending some time in it lately, it's 486 pages long. So it's just a little pamphlet, but there are some specific guidelines, and even most records that are disposed of at the local level are still archived with the state archives. So they don't go away forever. It just makes it harder and harder to search. And up to this point, I was just told they have only digitized back to 1951, I believe. So the records never fully go away. It just takes more and more time to get those records. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Cameron Gresh with the City of Carson City and Mayor Bagwell with Carson City.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Wynn, and members of the Government Affairs Committee. My name is Cameron Gresh, spelled C-A-M-E-R-O-N-G-R-E-S-H, Carson City Government Affairs Liaison. So as you just heard the Assemblyman overview, this bill does not change public access to any records. I'll go ahead and say that right now. Historical records are open to public inspection per NRS. They're stored in like big library stacks, perhaps a fireproof safe, all manner of facilities, some of which can be very expensive to maintain the farther back you go. For instance, I think some of the oldest records that Carson City possesses would be marriage records from the 1850s. Preserving these documents is not the same as preserving this paper for 5 years. It requires much more time and effort, so there is also a cost saving to being able to not have to give a historical record as part of a public records request, not to hide this record from the public, but to free up, as you heard the Assemblyman say, free up the time of local government employees, of which, especially for smaller jurisdictions, we're not talking about a huge team of people that handle public records requests. Sometimes it might only be a handful. And getting a historical records request, while they're not going to be the majority of any type of record request you might get in any jurisdiction, they do take, ask a clerk, they do take some of the longest times because of the research time. And so all that this bill does is allow local government employees to maintain public access to records that they are not responsible for searching through if a resident of Nevada or anyone wants to come in and make that request. Other than that, strengthening public trust in open government, I think, is a really big portion of this bill by trying to, one, reduce time constraints from deadlines from public records requests, and two, also the cost of maintaining historical records, and then the cost of searching and providing them. So that's three bonuses right there, and really that's what the heart and soul of AB 152 tries to do. Again, this does not seek to prevent a historical record from finding its way into the hands of an interested party. It just makes it easier on local governments at a time when public records requests are, starting to really weigh heavily on certain jurisdictions, depending on what kind you get and how big your relevant public records requests are. Some of those can also take just as much time as a historical records request. And as a local government, when it comes to prioritizing a public records request, obviously the one that is asking for current and relevant public records is going to take more priority, but we wouldn't be able to give that priority if we are also having to give the same amount of time and the same amount of research to a historical records request of limited relevance just by default of it being historical. And so that's, I think, a nice overview of where we and other municipalities in our state see the benefit of being exempted from providing historical records as part of public records requests. Mayor Bagwell from Carson City is here today, and I defer to her if she has any comments or anything you'd like to say before I yield my time back.
Good morning, Lori Bagwell, Mayor of Carson City. I want to just start off with a thank you. It's great to be able to come and have a discussion and to see what's good government, right, for all parties. I don't look at just what's good for Carson City, but what's good for everyone. And I think what this bill does for us is it changes the onus to say, you can come in, we can make an appointment with you, and we can take you into for us, it's a basement and a safe. We're in a building that has some locking areas because it used to be a bank, and come in and look at the records. That's fine, right? But we don't have to do the 5 days and hurry up and get you a public record for something that's 30, 40, 50 years old that is not digitized. And I wish that we had the funds as a local government to actually digitize all of our old records, because, well, I was teasing earlier that I do the Daughters of the American Revolution, so I assure you there isn't anything I love better than to get into boxes of old records and see what I can find. But it's just not realistic that it's a public record under that rule. It's an old historical record that we actually want to keep instead of destroying. So that's a really hard thing, right? So there's that other choices. Do you destroy the records so that you don't have to worry about them, so that you can comply with the law, or we want to keep them? And I will say most people want to keep the old stuff and give access to those that ask. But we'd appreciate your support and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bagwell. Again, Ken Gray, Assemblyman, Assembly District 39 for the record. Yeah, the intent here is not to stop these records from being seen by anybody. We've actually discussed an amendment that we are going to put in. Kind of reads shall. It doesn't say shall exempt, but we're going to put the word may in there just to allow some flexibility. I mean, because there are times when, say, a reporter needs to go back many years. We do get records requests, though, and these are the kind of records we're trying to shield from somebody. I shouldn't say shield, just make it harder, make the process a little bit more respective. I mean, we have people that will come in and say, I want the emails on this employee from the day they were hired until today. Purely a fishing expedition. It makes no sense. Now, if you want to tell us why, specifically what you're looking for, not only does that speed up the process, it actually, provides a foundation for that. But if that's what they want, truly what they want, I don't think anybody's going to say no. But realize it's going to take more than 5 days, and it's going to take some manpower. There is one municipality here that spent, I believe it was 2 full-time equivalents for 6 months trying to put together records that had been requested for somebody that was basically a fishing expedition, and that gets expensive to the taxpayer, and that should not happen. So with that, Madam Chair and committee, we will take your questions.
Thank you for the presentation. We do have a couple of questions. I will start with Assemblymember Karras.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. But I got to say, I started with one question, and now I have 15. Let me see if I have this right, and we'll get to my question. Don't worry. So let's just go with my biggest concern. You're trying to prevent people that are asking for a record because they may or may not be fishing for information and wasting your time?
Madam Chair, through you to Assemblymember Karras. That is one, because there are people out there that will absolutely do that to tie up government. It's just a fact of life. I mean, I don't know what else to say. We need to shield our employees from those kind of things and our taxpayers from that kind of fraud, waste, and abuse. That being said, we're not saying, no, it's not going to happen. What we would be saying is, okay, we'll give you what we have. But I mean, remember, most of these records, if you're going back more than 7 years, which 7 is about the common retention time, it's going to take a lot more work. And honestly, the county, they could destroy those records, and it would be no harm, no foul. The person would then have to go to the state and see if all of those records were retained at the state. So it's basically just activating a system that's already there.
So you don't have to keep the records, but especially in the areas up here where everything's so old for the United States. You don't want to destroy records, but you're finding that people are abusing the system because they'll ask for those older records just to tie up your people. Is that correct?
Lori Bagwell, I think that the first half of your discussion was accurate. The second half is not so accurate. I want to say for us, it's a matter of wanting to serve the public, and all of the employees that work for Carson City feel that way. So when we get a public records request, that initiates the section of the law that talks about how quickly we have to give them a record. And that puts, and then an onus of, did that have to be in writing? There's a lot of things that are dealing with that versus an individual that would love to do research of old records that we do not want to destroy. I think we have a lot of people that think it's great to be able, like I said, to go find their grandmother's marriage certificate, things of that nature. But it invokes, if we have the record, and I think that's what we're trying to distinguish here, is the difference between a public record is those that is in that manual that is 430 some odd pages. Those equal a public record. If it's outside of that, it's not a public record that we have to invoke that portion of the law and respond immediately versus, can you come in on the first of next month and I have an appointment time and let's go in and see if we can find an old record. So I think it's invoking different sections of the law, and that's what we're interested in, is being able to have a more reasonable response time for old records.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation. And Mayor Bagwell, I think your response right there, I think, clarified for me the key issue, which is any record that is less than the date in the manual is subject to the open records law request and timeframes. But I guess the question I want to make sure gets on the record, all records are available to the public for them to go through at their own time and their own cost.
Lori Bagwell, that's absolutely the issue. We're just segregating the dates pursuant to the rule and clarifying that for everyone. So, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. Good to see you again, Mayor. I think my colleague's question might have helped too, so that the time frame in the manual, you as the staff will work on, but anything older than that, because you have the right to destroy it per the schedule, but you won't, then they have to do the research themselves. Is that correct? Or you would help if you had the time, but it's optional?
Lori Bagwell, if I may. Yes, it would be optional. And what I think is wonderful about that is I don't know that always someone knows what the exact record is that they're looking for, but they want something from their family history or things of that nature. It's great if you can do the boxes together. And that individual then can look through and say, okay, I think my parents got married or grandparents in 1909, and I want to go and see if I can find that certificate. It's wonderful for them to, I don't know, I love digging through boxes, but I know I'm nuts, right? But it's fun to be able to do that, but it's very time consuming. And I think that's the whole issue here is, yes, we'd like to make appointments and let them help us. Let's go through the record and make sure we're giving you the record that that we think you wanted and that you had. So it's just a different process. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Our next question is from Assemblymember Carter.
Thank you. I'm trying to wrap my head around this about who has the right to decide something's a public record and something's not, and who gets to decide whether the person requesting it can wait or not. I don't understand this segregating, because it does stink to high heaven of hiding stuff and diluting the sunshine laws that we have in this state. And so how are we supposed to determine what's a public record or not, and why don't we just follow the definition? If it's not a public record, get rid of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori Bagwell. So I think that's the whole discussion, what you had right there. The state has laws and procedures, and the Library and Archives works to create a manual that tells us what a public record is. And so you're absolutely correct. So part of the issue is if you read the public records law, it doesn't say pursuant to the manual, right? It says if you have a record, yeah, it invokes that timeliness and you're going to do it right now, versus just what you said, local governments deciding to say it's just too onerous, so the answer is to eradicate all of our historical documents so that we don't even have to provide the record. Because legally, as you said, we could destroy the record and then we don't have to do it. We're just suggesting that a separate process be in place so that we're not forced to destroy records because we can't digitize or I like historical records and would rather keep them, but you also can't store everything and you can't digitize everything. That's what I really wish, is that I had the money to digitize it all and be able to go on a computer and index it and find the record quickly for people, but that simply isn't the process that's in place.
Assemblyman Ken Gray again for the record. To you, Assemblymember Carter, the last thing any government wants to do is destroy records. I think the only records outside the 7-year maybe apply to the courts, but a lot of these records are very historic in nature, even though they're not public records. In Lyon County, we have this beautiful climate-controlled kind of warehouse thing. It's about as big as this room. And it's funny that you mentioned the Daughters of the American Revolution. It's actually the exact same setup they've got in their records archive, where you've got these giant bookcases, floor to ceiling, and you've got these wheels that you can turn. We like making those available to the public to go do searches, but a lot of these records, the requests, the person isn't sitting there telling you, oh, this is kind of what I need, or that's what I need, or this is what I'm looking for. They give you a request, and you're expected to go find everything that they want, which can be done and which is done now, but it's not done within that 5 days. And a lot of it, it's there. It just takes time to find. And again, we don't want to, we're not in the business of destroying records. We're in the business of customer service. And looking at this from another standpoint, Mr. Carter, is that if you've got a project going on and you need some records for something for that project, but yet I've got my employee out there working on this long-term project, you may have to wait now past that 5 days because there's nobody to retrieve those records.
Our next question comes from Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. Mayor, I heard you say a more reasonable response time is the objective of this bill. But the language in the bill doesn't include mention of a response time. It almost feels like there's a suggestion that if you get a request and the request is for something that exceeds the retention time, it gives you permission to almost do a quick delete of them. And I'm wondering why the language in the bill doesn't just ask for an expanded time to respond to a request, particularly if it's beyond the retention schedule.
Lori Bagwell. So the timelines are in the law already and just not in the bill because we weren't recommending changing the times. So we have 5 days once we receive a public records request to to respond to them. If we cannot get it done in the 5 days, we have to tell them why not and things of that nature, which is usually because they've asked for, that's not mine, but they've asked for 1 million pieces of paper, right? So that's going to take longer than the 5 days to give it to them. This really, I think that what we're after is preserving more records outside of the retention schedule. And I think that's what we're really after is to say we're going to go ahead and save them instead of eliminate them. So I guess that's it for us. And it just changes that it's not a public records request, it's just a historical record request. And we can handle those in two different ways. That's it. I think I was laughing with someone earlier today that simple never seems simple when you get done. But that's simply what we're after, is changing the access and the timelines that we are not changing in this for the public records, for that 432-page document that we look up constantly that says, oh, got to keep that 7 years, 1 year, 8 years. They're all different answers.
I guess I'm still confused, and so my question would be, would you consider changing the language of the bill so it makes it clear that what you're asking for is a change in the response time, not exemption from providing the record?
Assemblyman Ken Gray for the record, through you. Assemblymember Goulding, good idea, but it's already there. We don't want to extend the timeline for records that we have readily available. For records that are outside that time frame, we just want the ability to have more time to do that. So we don't want to change the timelines that are already set in law. And as to your question about destroying records, that's already a criminal offense. If somebody requests that record and you knowingly have it on, you knowingly have that record, then you destroy it, that is covered in, I was looking for my citation, but that is covered somewhere in NRS already. So you cannot go destroy a record because somebody's requested it.
Our next question is from Assemblymember Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation. My question is, the committee that does the ultimate approval of the disposals, who do they consist of? Are they employees? Are they citizens? Are they appointed?
Assemblyman Ken Gray for the record. Assemblymember Jackson, funny you should mention that because I actually have it highlighted. It is, the committee consists of the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the Director of the Department of Administration, State Library Archives and Public Records Administrator, the Chief of the Office of the Chief Information Officer. One member is a representative of and one member of the general public who is appointed by the governor.
Thank you. I do have a couple of questions. I just want to make sure, because I know there's been a lot of questions, but in reading the changing, the language suggested to be changed in Section 1, this bill is looking at state or local records that can, under existing NRS, be destroyed, but that this bill is saying for things that can be destroyed that are not destroyed for, in what, Mayor, what you're saying is a historical context. You're requesting that in that situation, things that have not been destroyed but have been allowed to be destroyed, that the timeline for public records is changed a little bit to give you more time just for those records. I just want to understand if I have that correctly.
Lori Bagwell, absolutely correct. So those within the public records requirement in that booklet, they get all the rules of we have 5 days to respond. But if you're asking for a record outside of that time frame, then we can make a phone call and talk to them and say, let's look at the calendar together and when's a good date that works for both parties, and come on in and let's see if we can get the record for you. So it just changes the onus and the burdens to be able to meet their request.
Thank you. Because there are some records that, although are allowed legally to be destroyed, you don't want to destroy because they're historical. Okay. And then my second, I guess now my third, I just broke my own rule, I'm sorry, is early on, Assemblymember Gray, you said that you wanted to change shall to may, but I don't see where in your changed languages it says shall.
So it's, I think it's an inferred shall. If you go to the Section 1 and Section 2 changes, just the way it reads, a state, Yeah, so it says a state governmental entity is exempt from providing. I'd like to change that to may be exempt, or we'll consider, if you guys have a better way of, wording that so people are protected, we'd be happy to include that. I'm not even going to say entertain it. We'd be happy to include that, and there's a change. Because like I said, we're not looking to shield, to Assemblymember Carter's concern. Absolutely, I'm not looking to shield anything from the public's eye. It's just we need to be able to be more responsive, and it takes a lot of time, especially when they request paper copies, to photocopy all these things. I have literally seen cases of records that had to be photocopied, and they are provided in cases because there are so many records to be provided. A lot of people, if you haven't dealt with it, don't realize how much time, work, and money goes into providing those records, which I think, like I said, I firmly believe the public is entitled to. We're looking for some flexibility, though, for the records that do not need to be maintained, that a government already can rightly say, we're not going to provide those.
Committee, is there any more questions? Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you. As I'm listening to you, your example, you just said like boxes. Something. Could you give an example of what it was? Just, an example of, like what was something that happened that created boxes and a lot of staff time?
Assemblyman Ken Gray, for the record. A lot of them may be agendas, they may be minutes. One of the most common ones are an employee's emails from the time they started. They're looking to find something that they can go after that employee for, just because they've had a run-in on something. And that's why I use the word vexatious. They are just looking to either burden down the system or target a certain employee, and they will go through every single email looking for something that may rightly or wrongly incriminate them for something. If it does incriminate them, hey, go for it. But if you're just on a fishing expedition and you don't know quite what you're looking for, I think you need to be a little more specific in your requirement.
Follow-up, Chair? Yeah, and so in the example you just gave of an employee's emails, what is their timeline based on that schedule? Is that 7 years? Is that the most typical thing?
Ma'am, I would, Assemblyman Ken Gray, for the record, I would have to research that and find out what it is, unless
Yeah, I was
Mayor
just curious.
Bagwell knows.
I'm fine. I was just curious, yeah.
Lori Bagwell for the record. So it depends on the type of email, as I had discovered, because I actually did query this last night, and it was amazing to me to find in that 432 pages, there are 7 references to emails. I know. And I'm like, wow, this even makes it complex, because now we have to review every email and determine what kind it is. So it's from 1, when the record is no longer relevant. So like it was an event. Maybe you had an announcement that said, everybody, I hope you'll be getting your invitation to come to our Arbor Day event, right? But once the event is complete, the record is no longer relevant. And I thought, wow, we get to determine if a record is relevant, but that's where it is. Some had 2 years, 1 year, one had forever, if it actually is not a duplicated record. So it didn't get made into a policy booklet or something of that nature, then that was a forever. So it was kind of interesting when you read through it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Assemblyman Gray, again, for the record, if I can add on to that also. Another example that has recently come to light in years, and I'm not even sure if the pamphlet even covers it yet, though, expeditions going into members' cell phone text records, which can in no way be met in the 5 days as it stands now, because you have to go through the carrier. But they will request all your text, your text messages, from such and such time to such and such a time. So not, like I said, again, not saying that that's not a legitimate request, but if you're dealing with other requests and you've got, they just begin to back up. And so it would be nice to have the ability to prioritize your work for the jobs that have to be done now. And, then you've got your longer term jobs that you can work on.
We have a couple of more questions. Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you. So I just want to be clear. So the current bill language says a state governmental entity is exempt. And I think that what you just said was is exempt. You're suggesting it would be shall be exempt. No?
Assemblymember Ken Gray for the record. No, we're going to change that to may be exempt, so it's clear that there's still some ability to get those records. It's just,
Okay, I hear you. So is exempt, your amendment would be may be exempt, and this is my question then. Is your intention that may be exempt means that the governmental entity has flexibility to have more time to respond? I think what I'm hearing you say is that may be exempt equals the agency has more flexibility to respond, because those things don't seem the same to me. So I must be misunderstanding something.
Assemblyman Ken Gray for the record, I'll take a shot at that, and then I'll probably turn it over to Mayor Bagwell. It's not just the time. It's the time, the scheduling, hey, we need you to sit down and show us, especially when you're talking about the old ledgers and stuff like that. There's more flexibility to get the records that you actually want instead of just taking a wholesale approach and giving somebody everything that they may find that, oh, this doesn't meet my request because I can't figure out what I want out of this.
I don't think may be exempt means that, though.
Lori Bagwell for the record. So I think as currently written, it simply is stating that records outside of the retention schedule are exempt from the public records requirement for the local government to respond within 5 days. Because it invokes a different answer. And if we haven't written it correctly or we're not getting it through, I know that we're more than happy to work with everyone to update that language. But if it doesn't invoke the public record, then the local government will work with the individual on an appropriate timing to get them. And so for Carson City, I'll give an example of records and why they're so much more complex than just simply going and getting a record for somebody. So a lot of people love to come in and get research on land records, right? So they'll come back into, what did this area look like in 1700? And so you're going to old ledger books and maps. Maps is a big deal, and they're all just wrapped and in there, and people, so they want to act. I think it's actually better to go through their records with them and let them then ask us to copy the specific map that they're looking for, to look at areas, because boundaries change. And I have to tell you, it's probably one of the largest things we do as a local government when we're looking to change property issues. We're in the safe looking through all those maps too to find old things, as our airport is getting ready, is doing expansions. That was a big one. And so people are in looking for super old land records is big for us. And dusty.
Assemblyman Ken Gray for the record. Again, I just want to make it very clear that these are records outside of the retention schedule. Outside, they're not, these records are not currently bound by that anyway. So that being said, the counties and the municipalities may still have them. So they are going to provide them. They just need flexibility. And I've also got to mention, for those of us that don't live in the larger counties, can you imagine what goes on in the smaller counties when they maybe have 3 full-time employees and they have to go on one of these major jobs, and they have to go through their records and find all this stuff? That you're taking 1/3 of the county workforce and waylaying them for, who knows how much time to find these records, which, isn't always a bad thing, but can be very bad sometimes.
And our last question is from Vice Chair Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Mayor. Good to see you again. Thank you for having us in your city and the beautiful weather. We're trying. I think I really understand some of the presentation has been around the volume of exceedingly timely requests where there is, like what the Assembly member said, going through a fishing expedition, right? I'm wondering if, the language can be looked at in a sense where for a smaller municipality like yours, may not have that resources, right? So perhaps a language would focus on the carve out maybe for city of your size versus, bigger city with more resources may have more ability to handle these requests. Because again, we don't want to kind of avoid doing our job by being that government transparency and being able to serve the public. So perhaps the language could be carved out for city with less than a certain number of population would have the ability to have more waivers or exemptions, so that could be done that way, because perhaps that would be a solution. And then my other curiosity is that you keep saying that there are folks requesting this. In terms of how many of these, out of 10 requests, how many of these are unreasonable? Because I keep hearing the same example over and over again, but I feel like the percentage of maybe one or out of 10 that happens this way. So perhaps we wanted to look at some of these things a little bit more closely, because that will be helpful to us.
Assemblymember Ken Gray for the record. Yeah, a pop cap may not be a bad idea. Counties with populations above 300,000 and counties below 300,000. But it was, we were looking at it for something for the entire state, but a pop cap would absolutely be something worth looking at. And then I will turn it over to Mayor Bagwell for your second part of the question.
So, if I may, Lori Bagwell for the record. I don't know that I would ever make a judgment call on whether somebody is requesting something reasonable. But we have examples in some of our local governments where an entity worked on obtaining records, assigned 2 staff members to do it. It generated 1 million records, and the person never picked it up. And I can say that happens in Carson City too, where we get the records request, we fill it, it's sitting at the front counter ready for them to come in and get, and they don't even get it. And so that is not appropriate for a taxpayer or somebody to request a record. We go to do all the energy of creating it, and then they don't even come and get it. So I find those, I hate to say it, but I'll just be honest, right? I find that obnoxious. That to me is when, well, why did you do that? Our staff spent 30 hours pulling those records, and then you don't even come and get them, right? And we don't charge for the records, but yet they utilized I consider our employees' time all public time, right? So we couldn't do other work or other things. And so I don't want to say that someone's request is bad. I prefer that if it was so important that you did a public information request, how come you didn't come and get it after we spent all this time? So I don't think people, sometimes are they after fishing expeditions? Yes. But I guess we're all in public service and we're kind of used to that, right? So I don't consider record requests bad.
Assemblyman Ken Gray, I want to address that as well. As elected folks, we expect it. We expect fishing expeditions against ourselves. For our paid professional staff, it's kind of, it's not always the best thing for them to be put through. I will say that with this and being able to exempt some of those records, if they get something that looks like it's going to be a 1 million-page request, by looking at the retention schedule and saying, hey, we don't have to have these records past 7 years or these past 3 years, it'll allow them to parse that down to a much more meaningful amount of paperwork and items for the person requesting it.
Okay, I believe that is the end of our questions. So thank you for the presentation. We will move on to testimony on the bill. Testimony can be provided in person in Carson City via video conference in Las Vegas or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to provide testimony. I also want to reiterate support testimony, opposition testimony, and neutral testimony. Support testimony means that you are testifying in approval of the measure as written, or if there is a proposed amendment that has been approved by the sponsor, you are testifying in approval of that measure with the amendment. Opposition is if you are not supporting the measure as written, or you are supporting the measure only as, you're supporting the measure only with an amendment that has not been approved. If testimony is not support or opposition under these rules, I will end the testimony and ask that you speak in the proper area of testimony on the bill or in public comment. And with that, I would like to get started. Testimony and support here in Carson City. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Jennifer Berthiaume, that's Berthiaume, Government Affairs Manager at the Nevada Association of Counties, or NACO, whose members represent all 17 counties. AB 152 provides important clarity and efficiency in the management of public records, aligning with state law on records retention and streamlining the ability to provide records, ultimately being more transparent and more efficient in responding to requests. This bill is helpful for local government entities to manage records in a way that balances transparency with practical record-keeping requirements. For these reasons, NACO supports AB 152 on behalf of all counties. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen, and members of the committee. Kelly McNeil, Executive Director for the Nevada League of Cities and Municipalities. We support this bill as it is written and thank the sponsor for bringing this legislation forward. We'd like to see the efficiencies improved across the state, and as such, we support this bill as written. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, committee members. Isaac Hardy, representing the Urban Consortium, which is made up of Reno, Sparks, Henderson, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas. I want to echo the comments and support. Government agencies are tasked with, keeping certain records confidential, and that takes time. That takes time and that takes resources. AB 152 is going to help promote transparency, but also give us that time to allocate those resources towards those certain records. And with that, we are in support of AB 152. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Alejandro Rodriguez, Nevada System of Higher Education. AB 152 will support the timely processing of public records requests, a practice NSHE is already committed to. This bill will further enhance our ability to assist requesting parties in refining their requests in alignment with the applicable retention schedule, improving efficiency and responsiveness. We urge your support. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Committee on Government Affairs. My name is Chris Reese. It's R-I-E-S. I represent the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. First, I want to thank Assemblyman Gray for bringing this common sense legislation. I'll be brief and just say that we support AB 152. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen. My name is Wesley Harper. I am the Director of Government Affairs for the City of North Las Vegas. We support this bill as written. We believe that this will help our efficiency in meeting the public requests for documents that they are entitled to under the retention period. For that reason, we are in support. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support of AB 152? Seeing no one in Las Vegas, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of Assembly Bill 152? Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Patricia Cabrera, and I serve as the Enterprise Records Officer for the City of Las Vegas. Every day, I ensure that government records are managed efficiently, securely, and in compliance with state-approved retention schedules. I'm here today to support AB 152 because it provides necessary clarity in public records management while maintaining transparency and efficiency. AB 152 does not change what records must be retained or for how long. It simply clarifies that government agencies are not required to provide copies of records that are already authorized for disposal under existing policies. Currently, agencies must process records requests even for records approved for disposal, and creating administrative burdens and diverting resources from active records management. and taxpayer-funded public services. AB 152 ensures agencies can focus on maintaining access to records that are still within the required retention period. Beyond efficiency, AB 152 also reduces costs. Processing requests for records already approved for disposal wastes time, staff resources, and taxpayer dollars without providing any real public benefit. By clarifying that agencies are not obligated to retrieve or duplicate records scheduled for disposal, AB 152 helps save taxpayer dollars and streamlines government operations. Most importantly, AB 152 does not limit public access to active records. It ensures that records remain available for the full duration of their legally mandated retention period, while providing a clear framework for when records are no longer required to be produced. AB 152 is a practical, common sense measure that upholds efficiently. I urge this committee to support its passage to ensure responsible records management and better use of public resources. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of Assembly Bill 152? Seeing no one, we'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the line in support of Assembly Bill 152?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 152, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We will now move to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition on Assembly Bill 152? Please go ahead when you are ready.
Kent Irvin, K-E-N-T-E-R-V-I-N, speaking as a citizen and resident in Reno. I've spent a lot of time in the county recorder's office. A few of you still in this building may remember SB 117 of 2019 with Senator Ratty about racist covenants. I spent time looking those, and don't hold me to those numbers. I've also spent time at the university archives looking at old Board of Regents minutes meetings to determine why a particular policy was instituted 20, 30, 40 years ago. So I value historical records. My concern here is that we're just completely exempting governments from producing records that they keep for some reason, and there may be a public interest in determining why they are keeping, as opposed to creating an archive policy that says, okay, when you're past a retention schedule, is this a record that should be archived? And then what is the access to the archives? And how is that provided? So we've talked about how that's being provided, but this bill doesn't guarantee any of those provisions of those old records being available for people to come in and search through. So, and finally, I've also done public records requests with entities that like to deny public records requests based on very narrow or twisted interpretations of the law. And my reading of this suggests that there could be a loophole, because if a particular record is on a retention and retention schedule, it doesn't actually say that this only applies if it's past the retention date. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tia Smith, T-I-A-S-M-I-T-H. I'm a policy attorney with ACLU of Nevada. ACLU of Nevada is part of the Nevada Open Government Coalition, so we echo their concerns about transparency. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to AB 152? Seeing no one in Las Vegas, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 152? Seeing no one, we are back to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone online on this bill to testify in opposition?
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 152, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 963, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen, and members of the committee. I am Bob Conrad, that's BOBCONRAD, and I am on the boards of the Nevada Open Government Coalition and the Nevada Press Association. Both groups are opposed to AB 152. This bill creates a law where one is not needed. It is unnecessary because Nevada's government agencies can already follow legally authorized retention schedules established in state law. Those schedules dictate when records can be purged, ensuring that outdated or non-essential records are properly disposed of. Local governments can already follow these guidelines. By exempting government entities from providing copies of records they are authorized to discard, however, transparency is undermined because governments can deny access to records even before they are officially purged. This restriction could be used to conceal information that should remain available to the public until properly disposed of under established procedures. If governments believe records requests are too burdensome, there is a provision in the Public Records Act that allows governments to help requesters narrow their requests. In my experience, though, governments rarely embrace this statute. Public records laws exist to promote accountability and public trust. This bill creates a new law that automatically shuts the door on transparency and should therefore be opposed. Lastly, we are celebrating Sunshine Week here in Nevada tonight with a reception at the Brewery Arts Center. Sunshine Week is an annual celebration of the importance of government transparency. The reception is at 6 p.m. and you are all invited, and we hope to see you there. Thank you so much for taking our comments.
Caller with the last three digits 051, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Again, caller with the last three digits 051, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Barry Johnson, Las Vegas. I am opposed. Nevada must implement statewide open data policies that make all government records digitally acceptable. Create a statewide historical records bureau to digitize everything in the state and local level. It seems historical records are being used to destroy transparency. The only reason not to use AI is to suppress records, is to operate in secrecy, to continue treating citizens like pawns and while reducing our freedom. We are not free when the government decides what we can and cannot know. We demand open records and accountability. We're not in 1950 in an era where technology makes information accessible at the click of a button. All public records should be digitized and publicly accessible. A child can use a scanner and a camera to create an image and upload it to create the same process. Yet, despite court rulings affirming the state and local agencies, taxpayers, to allow the taxpayers to access government records, bureaucrats act as if these documents are their personal property in an effort to digitize them as much of a burden. A truly transparent government does not hide information that takes access seamless. Instead, we have government officials like Sheriff McMahill, INDOT Director Tracy Larkin, and agencies still covering up COVID records using taxpayer-funded.
I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, I'm going to stop you right there. Mr. Johnson?
Transparency.
Mr. Johnson, if this is opposition on this bill, you may continue, but please, I don't see the point of bringing in other people concerning this bill. Thank you.
Well, I'm talking about the corruption of hiding records. It's absolutely part of this bill, because what you're doing is allowing these people to.
I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, I'm going to have to end this
capitalists.
opposition. We don't allow personal attacks.
Thank you, Chair. We have no additional callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you, and we will now move to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 152? Seeing no one in Carson City approach, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 152? Seeing no one approach, AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 152?
To testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 152, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
All right, thank you. If the presenters would like to come up to make any final remarks.
Good morning, Lori Bagwell. I just really want to take a moment to thank you all for being engaged in the conversation, because that's where everything starts, is that we talk together. And I just want to say, if there are amendments that you think actually make the bill palatable, we're more than happy to look at those. Our sole issue is not what someone said about destroying records. It's about retaining more records. And I hope that that's the effort that you see we're putting forward here today. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 152 and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 274. Oh, did you? And like I said, I am opening the hearing on Assembly Bill 274, which requires the waiver of certain fees for certain businesses related to veterans. To present this measure, we have Assembly Member O'Neill. Thank you for being here, and please go ahead when you are ready.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I want to apologize if I sound a little out of breath at times. I just ran up from another committee where I was in progress of presenting to come and visit with you all. And I will say, as I said, thank you, Chair Considine, and esteemed members of the committee. For the record, I'm P.K. O'Neill, representing Assembly District 40, which includes Carson City, Story County, and parts of Washoe County. I'm here today to present to you Assembly Bill 274, which requires the waiver of certain fees for the first 3 years of a business related to veterans who are honorably retired, which means 20 years or more, who are retired due to a service-related disability, or a Gold Star family member. And it's that last part that I really will drive home to you, because I think we all understand 20-year veteran retirement, a retired veteran due to a service-related disability. The Gold Star family is the part that we have left out so many times in our recognition of veterans. The Gold Star family consists of members who have lost a father, a husband, or a child. Lost in the sense of deceased, killed during a wartime activity or terrorism activity. And that's what I want to drive home to you, is remember that as you consider this bill and as we go forward. As I said, at the core of this bill acknowledges the sacrifices made by our veterans and military families. We recognize that our veterans sacrifice significantly for us. They give up their time, stability, and comfort to ensure our safety and security while facing physical, mental, and emotional challenges head on. They put their safety and well-being on the line, risking injury and often losing their lives in service to our country, in service to us. These sacrifices, of course, also extend to their loved ones. With that in mind, it is critical that our state do its part to support the veterans and their families who have given so much to themselves, and AB 274 offers one pathway for fulfilling that responsibility. Very quickly, and I'll go through the bill. It's really in section, shoot, I forgot my glasses. I left them downstairs. I apologize. On page 3, down at the bottom, section 8, I have an amendment that should be up on Nellis, dealing with the secretary. It wasn't clear initially, but it's basically the Secretary of State. This bill will allow a business owned by that retired veteran, retired veteran due to a medical disability, or a Gold Star family member who wants to start a business, one-time opportunity to start a business, and for the first 3 years of that business be exempt from the Secretary of State's business licensing fees. So it's one time, 3 years, and it has to be within that 51% or more owned by a veteran, as we stated, retired, medically retired, or that Gold Star family member. And that's within the first degree of consanguinity, which really is what brings it into the parent, the spouse, or their child. So the amendment that I've put forward prohibits the waiver of the state business license fee for a business relating to veterans if the person has already received the waiver for another qualifying business, provided that the waiver of the state business license fee for the business relating to veterans applies to the first 3 years of the business instead of the first year, and revises the definition of Gold Star family member to mean a resident of the state who is a spouse or a natural or adoptive child or parent of a member of the Armed Forces of the United States, as described in 10 U.S.C. section 1126 sub A. And I think with that, I'll stand for questions, Chair.
Thank you for the presentations. We do have some questions. Our first question is from Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. Can you give us some idea of the estimated number of businesses that would be affected by this?
That's a wonderful question, and I really do appreciate that, Assemblymember Goulding. P.K. O'Neill for the record. The Secretary of State initially put in a physical note saying that 4.7% of businesses in Nevada are veteran-owned. Now, a veteran can be a member of a military organization, whether they've been there for 1 day, 1 year, or 20, 30, 40 years. They're still a veteran. That's why this is defined down. In conversation with them, and I think they're going to be coming forward, they have attached a physical note. They're going to reduce that. When I asked them, so how many of that 4.7 veteran-owned businesses are retired military veterans, are retired due to a medical disability, or a Gold Star family member? Their answer was, I have no idea. They do not keep those statistics. However, the 4.7 is all veterans. You might say that's the maximum there is. We have 153 Gold Star family members currently in the state of Nevada. So you can extrapolate down, and to me, their best response was, we have no idea, we'll take a guess, and they have reduced their fiscal note to a lower amount, and should be here today to present that to you. However, it's an undetermined amount. So let's just take 4.7 and take a third of it. Even take less to me if you want, because to get to 20 years, I know personally that most people leave the military usually after their initial hitch of 4 or 6 years, from personal experience. So it really does reduce, but I cannot give you an exact number, nor can anybody else apparently. Thank you.
And Assemblymember O'Neill, Gabriel DeCara, Chief Deputy Secretary of State for the record. I'm here in Las Vegas and able to answer any questions. Assemblymember O'Neill is absolutely correct. It would not be, it would be very difficult for us to give that kind of estimation. There are very strict rules regarding fiscal notes that we always do our best to comply by, but there will be an updated fiscal note to go along with the Assembly members' amendment, and that fiscal note should be considered the absolute maximum. As he said, it's incredibly unlikely that all 4.75% of veterans who have opted in to notifying the Secretary of State's office that they are starting a veteran-owned business, very unlikely that all of them are 20-year retirees.
Thank you for that answer. We will now go to Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Assemblymember O'Neill, for bringing this bill forward and for your presentation today. Before I get to my question, I just want to, really commend you on bringing up the Gold Star families, as being a part of this initiative. We know that since the mid-1970s with the elimination of the draft, there's been fewer and fewer and fewer percentage of the American public who serve in uniform. And so my question really is, as you thought about this legislation, why was it important to really expand these benefits now that we're usually in the confines of those who actually served, veterans? Why is it important to bring these sort of benefits to family members, especially in this day and age? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. PK O'Neill, for the record, I also want to thank you, Assemblymember De Silva, for signing on to this bill and supporting it. I can give several reasons, and I'll try to shorten them up. Some of them are personal. I have a son serving. He's 18 years in. He hasn't been in one location yet for more than 3 years maximum. He's got twin boys and a wife, and when he gets deployed out even, he goes out, handles the mission, but it's the family. His wife has called me up trying to discuss about how to cut the grass. Lawnmower doesn't work. And so you think about that. I think about it as a father too. If on one of his deployments, which have been in under fire, to lose him would be very difficult. And I have brought bills before. I always try to support the veterans and bring veterans bills forward. But we've always left out the Gold Star family members. And in conversation with some of the veterans and attending the United Veterans Legislative Council or Consortium, they are starting to bring up the Gold Star. I attended a dinner a few weeks ago, and they had the 153 Gold Star flags hanging from the ceiling. And that's what brought it home to me too, is what we've left out. Last session, there was a bill before you that did include all veterans and an exemption for the first several years of their business. And it had a very large fiscal note and did not pass out of the House. Actually, I take that back. It did not pass out of the Senate's side of the House. So I was figuring narrow it down to really those that have gone above and beyond. To go above and beyond, the state of Nevada will go above and beyond and reward them with the first 3 years. And the reason why I say the first 3 years is most new businesses, if they are going to fail within the first 2 years. So give them the one extra, that third year, to really get their footing, to get back to civilian life. One of the other problems I had, my daughter and her husband, he had difficulty adjusting back to civilian life from the Marine Corps. It just was not the same to him. He had problems. It was a very regimented life. He was used to being told exactly what you're going to wear today and the color of their passes. He just had problems. And so that's why I was going to wanted to narrow it down and assist them out and give them the 3 years to adjust over in their businesses and hopefully be successful and say that Nevada appreciates your service. And we walk the walk, we talk our talk with it, of what we say here. Hopefully that answers the question, Assemblyman De Silva.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the committee? I do have one question. Since there are three options, can these be stacked, or can only one option be chosen? I know it says or, that you have to be one of those three. You have to be retired for 20 years, someone who has been disabled, or own 51%. But if a Gold Star family member, so if someone is a retired military and is in a Gold Star family, can they stack these two, or is it only one?
Thank you for the chair, or for the question, Chair Considine. As it said in the amendment, no, they can't. They have trying to think of a better term than, they got a one-shot chance for it. But as it says, they have to be a 51% waiver. Maybe it's in the bill, but they only have a one-time ability to use the waiver, the 3-year waivers.
Thank you. I just wanted to make clear that it was one time of all three, not one each or stacked. Thank you. I appreciate that. And committee members, any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for the presentation. And if you would like to stick around, especially the gentleman from the SOS, for testimony in support and opposition, we will begin with testimony in support. Again, I just want to reiterate, testimony in support of a bill is that you approve the bill as written, or you approve the bill as written along with the proposed amendments that have been approved by the sponsor. If you are testifying in opposition, it means you are not supporting the bill as written, or you are supporting the measure as originally written, but you oppose the amendment. If you are testifying neutral, this is usually when a person offers particular insight on the bill but expresses no position on the measure. If your testimony is not in support or opposition, I will end the testimony and ask that you speak in the proper subject area for testifying, or if sometime it is more appropriate that you can testify during public comment at the end of the committee meeting. And we'll start here in Carson City. Please begin.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, Assembly members. I'm Winnie Dowling, that's D-O-W-L-I-N-G, and I am the State Director for the Nevada Small Business Development Center. We help people start and grow businesses. We've been here for over 40 years. We have 12 offices around the state, one at UNR and one at UNLV that also host a Veterans Business Outreach Center. And so I agree, there's not a large percentage of veterans that are our clients, about 5%, I would say, for us. It's not a large number, but it would be really nice to be able to just be able to waive that fee to the Secretary of State. And there are plenty of expenses and other licenses, permitting costs that they will incur. It's only for 3 years, so I don't think it's unreasonable. And it would be just a really nice way to say thank you to our veterans. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen, members of the committee. My name is Wesley Harper. I am the Director of Government Affairs for the City of North Las Vegas. City of North Las Vegas is in support. We believe this legislation is just a small appreciation for the sacrifices that those that have served and their families have given to this country. The City of North Las Vegas has demonstrated its commitment to supporting all veterans. 17,642 veterans live in North Las Vegas, and we are home to the only jurisdictional veteran-focused center in Southern Nevada. The Veteran Community and Resource Center provides comprehensive support for veterans and their families, and I'm happy to share the details about the center at the committee's request. For the reasons of the sacrifice and the commitment to our country, we are in support. Thank you.
Chair Considine, committee members, for the record, my name is Andrew Lee Pilbit. I am the state chair for the United Veterans Legislative Council. This is actually one of our priorities We went through a symposium last year asking our veterans throughout the state, and one of the things was to make sure we look after our Gold Star families and for our disabled veterans. This was a high priority for them. This is a small token to help our veterans get started that have served 20 years or more in the military or disabled from the military. So they've given 20 years of their lives to support us and to fight for us in foreign lands. And then we're going to give them a little help here if they want to start a business. And I can see the difficulty in identifying how big this is. Because it's been narrowed down so much, I don't think this is going to be a very big issue in terms of a fiscal note or anything. It's a very small number. As for the Gold Star families, it was only a decade ago we started to really recognize the Gold Star families on a national basis. And it was thanks to a Medal of Honor winner that decided, a World War II one, and he is the last one to die from World War II last year. He just decided to do these monuments throughout the nation, and we've done that. These monuments are recognized. Now we're going to do something for them to help them if they want to start a business. Yeah, it's 3 years. It's a small amount of money, but it's the right thing to do for the people that paid the biggest price, our families whose members didn't come home. So the United Veterans Legislative Council, representing approximately 250,000 vets in our state, we endorse this bill entirely. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in support of Assembly Bill 274? Seeing no one approach, is there anyone in Las Vegas? In Las Vegas, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair Considine. Gabriel DeCara, Chief Deputy Secretary of State, for the record, testifying in support of this bill on behalf of Secretary of State Francisco Aguilar. We'd like to thank Assemblymember O'Neill for bringing this bill forward. Secretary Aguilar strongly supports veterans and Gold Star families, and he also believes in building Nevada's economy. Encouraging anyone to start a new business in Nevada helps the economy of Nevada grow. And because I realized I did not actually answer, I believe it was Assemblymember Golding's question. In fiscal year 2024, there were approximately 4,600 veteran-owned businesses that were newly started. And fiscal year 25, we're estimating 5,100, and it would just we're rejecting the same economic growth as the state economic forum is. So that's where those numbers came from. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Taylor Avery, and I'm the Manager of Political Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of AB 274. Waiving the state business license fee for veterans and Gold Star families is an important tool to help foster entrepreneurship and small businesses in Nevada. The Chamber supports pathways for aspiring entrepreneurs to take the first step in establishing a small business and growing them into thriving machines of economic opportunity. Removing the state licensing fee for veteran-owned businesses increases their chances of success and would remove an important financial barrier. This, in turn, makes our state's economy stronger. We'd like to thank the bill sponsor, and we thank the committee for its consideration.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines in support of AB 274?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 274, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Barry Johnson, Las Vegas. I'm in support of this bill because we need to do something, but as a taxpayer and citizen, I'm disgusted in how the state treats veterans. These men and women put their lives on the line for our freedoms. They left their families, endured unimaginable hardships. And many come home with wounds, physical, mental, and emotional, and yet when they return, the state has the audacity to charge them fees just to exist. It's insulting. You tax their personal property, their vehicles, and their businesses. You offer tiny discounts here and there just so politicians can pretend they support the troops. during campaign season. But when it comes to actually eliminating these burdens from them, suddenly it's too much. It's shameful. How much money does a legislature waste on pet projects and bloated bureaucracies? Meanwhile, veterans in Nevada can't even get priority services from our government. How do you justify that? Some of you will ask, how do we afford that? That's simple. Stop wasting our money. Nevada is already following California down a path of financial ruin. If we can't afford every feel-good program imaginable, we can certainly afford to stop charging veterans for the right to live in a state they fought for. The legislature is failing our veterans. It's time to fix it. Eliminate every single fee veterans pay in the state. No more half measures, no more empty gestures, just real respect for those who served and sacrificed. And if anyone refuses to support that, have the courage to look a veteran in the eye and explain why. Thank you.
Thank you. AVH, is there any other callers on the line in support of Assembly Bill 274?
Good morning, Madam Chair and Committee. This is Lynn Chapman, LYNNCHAPMAN, and I'm a 50-year member of the American Legion Auxiliary. I have known so many veterans and their families, and I've known a number of Gold Star families, and all the sacrifices that they have made should be taken into account for what is being asked for in this bill. We seem to have a lot of money for all sorts of people and projects and everything else, but for our veterans, it would only be for a 3-year period of time that they are exempt from business licenses. This is after they put in 20 years of service or received a disability during service or were killed and a family member needs or wants to start a business. And that, to me, doesn't seem to be too much to ask. Please vote yes on AB 274 with the amendment. Thank you.
Yes, hi, my name is Al Rojas. I live in Assembly Districts 12, Senate District 21 in Sunrise Manor. Our district, half of it is in Henderson, half of it's in Sunrise Manor. I live in the Sunrise Manor section. I am testifying in support of this bill. I'm Latino, and Latino businesses in America are the fastest growing and more profitable. Even Donald Trump has said that they're more profitable than Caucasian businesses. Our GIs, our service people, at one point, or I do believe they still have the GI Bill, and that helped them with their education. We need to get more service people in business. Capitalism is the major opportunity to success of our country. And let me also add, I'm part of a business watch group. All of our businesses, there's about 30 of them down here on the corner of Lake Mead and Hollywood Boulevard. We're all together trying to tackle this homeless problem and getting people the direction that they need by first identifying their needs before we remove their encampments, not just moving people around. And what's the most painful is to see a veteran there who says, you know what, America's let me down. Excuse me, give me a quick second here. So I am saying that, you know what, not only should these 20-year veterans, I think every veteran should somehow be able to easily get into the small business to benefit from our capitalistic system, which is the backbone of the success of our country. Small businesses are the backbone of our country, and I think it should be expanded. I think every veteran should be encouraged to start a business and hopefully keep veterans at least off the street. Nothing, again, like I said, is more painful than seeing a veteran who is homeless who says, you know what, all I'm doing is getting ticketed, and I'm a veteran.
Thank you, Mr. Rojas. That is your 2 minutes.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move on to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 274? Seeing no one, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to this bill? And seeing no one, AVH, we're back to you for any testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 274.
If you'd like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 274, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in opposition.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 274? Seeing no one. Anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in the bill? Seeing no additional people in Las Vegas, AVH, we're back to you on testimony in neutral.
To testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 274, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would the presenter like to come up to make any final remarks?
Thank you for your time today, Chair and committee members. I greatly appreciate it, and so do the retired military, veterans, and Gold Star families.
Thank you for bringing this bill, and I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 274, and we will move on to the last item on our agenda, which is public comment. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit written public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. Instructions for providing public comment can be found on the agenda. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 872-5143-7492, and then press pound when prompted for a participant ID. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide testimony. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide public comment today? Seeing no one and seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the line for public comment?
To provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello, this is El Rojas again. Last name is spelled R-O-J-A-S. I live in Assembly District 12, Senate District 21, in the far eastern part of Sunrise Manor. I wanted to say that we started a what I would call a business watch group down here on Lake Mead and Hollywood Boulevard, and we have been very successful in reducing many encampments and reducing the homeless population here. I lived on the beach in Huntington Beach for 38 years, Huntington Beach, Newport area, managing a beach with all the drugs coming in, the cows coming in, the homeless coming in, and having a well-managed beach like we have is possible, and there is a science to managing this homeless problem. What we have been found to be very successful is to diagnose and what the needs are and what it takes to get a homeless person back into the game. What are the first 1 or 2 steps to get them moving in a productive direction? We are doing this by working with an organization called HELP, H-E-L-P, which goes out there and diagnoses these people, puts them on a database, and they're building a map of all the homeless here in Clark County. I do believe, and I know, and it's been done, homeless is a problem that can be solved. We have managed it in Huntington Beach. We had a bunch of surfers, and we know how to do it. And I'm telling you that these guys need funding. They're not open on Fridays. I am asking that all of our elected officials look into what these people are doing, support them, and we need more organizations like HELP, and hopefully maybe even the veterans that start a business and helping the veterans that are out there. So please look at what HELP is doing. Let's diagnose these guys that are building encampments before we move them, because they're the worst offenders. Once you become a camping homeless person, now you're starting to dig in like a potato into the whole area. I mean, that's the best analogy I can use right now.
Thank you,
we want
Mr.
to stop
Rojas.
that.
Your 2
Keep them
minutes.
moving and moving.
Your 2 minutes are up. Thank you.
Barry Johnston, Las Vegas, BERRY JOHNSTON. Once again, we see blatant violations to the First Amendment and Nevada Constitution basic ethic laws, all to protect those in power from accountability. When we talk about government officials elected or appointed, our right to speak is absolute, yet I was silenced there to speak about those entrusted with public office. The First Amendment guarantees the right to free speech, especially when addressing government actions. Nevada Constitution, Article 1, Section 9 reinforces this by stating every citizen may speak freely, write, and publish on all subjects. And ethics laws demand that public officials act in the public interest, not their own. Yet here we are watching this legislature create more cover-ups and silent dissent. Why? Because transparency threatens the system. Because when we expose your corruption, we expose the truth, saying that this government serves itself, not the people. We are expected to be good little slaves, to obey, to pay taxes, and to shut up. This isn't just suppression, it's tyranny. And to make no mistake, history is clear. Governments that silence their people are governments that fear the truth. We demand accountability. We demand open records. We demand our constitutional rights being respected. You can try to silence us, but we will not be ignored. People of Nevada will not be ruled by secrecy. You're intentionally helping violations of our Fifth and numerous other constitutional amendments and laws by what you're doing. And it's terrible. Have a good day.
Morning, Chair and Government Affairs Committee. For the record, I am Evelyn Pacheco, EVELYN PACHECO, and I am an Army veteran, disabled veteran, and I strongly support and hope you pass AB 274. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Pacheco. This is public comment, so it's not appropriate in public comment, but we will do our best to move that to support. Thank you. AVH, is there any other caller? Are there any other callers on the line?
Chair, we have no additional callers on the line for public comment.
Thank you. That concludes our meeting today. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, March 19th, 8 a.m. in room 4100, and the meeting is adjourned.